Welcome to day one of Book Speaking Gigs Like Crazy 5-day challenge. I'm Mary Kravitz, and because you're taking the time to do this challenge, I know that you just want to be out there speaking more so you can be impacting more people, attracting more clients, and probably prefer not to work nights and weekends to do it. And if that's the case, I get it. You're absolutely in the right place, so let's jump right in. Today, in day one of the challenge, you're going to learn how to avoid one of the biggest mistakes speakers make, wasting your time in front of the wrong audience. This will save you a ton of time and frustration, so we're going to jump in. Today, what we're going to cover is a quick introduction. I'm going to introduce myself, and I'm also going to tell you why I don't network and what that has to do with speaking, why it's so important to define your audience, which is what we're doing today. And then we're going to actually identify your ideal client and understand your ideal audience. And then I'll give you today's assignment. So first, a quick introduction. I'm Mary Kravitz, and I own a training and coaching company that I run from the comfort of my home here on the Central Coast of California. I serve clients all over the country. We're on track for a $500,000 mark in revenue. But when I started this business, things were very different. A few short years after starting it, I burned out. And this was medically diagnosed burnout, not, gee, I need a weekend at a spa type of burnout. I've been working way too many hours and completely undervaluing my services. That burnout, it was a wake-up call and a real turning point because I needed a less complicated, less time-consuming way to run and grow my business. But when I went out there in the world looking for training, every training I saw out there, I felt like it was very cookie cutter. I felt treated like a number, and I knew they weren't going to work for me. I couldn't pretend to be somebody I wasn't. Since I didn't see anything else offering what I needed, I just had to develop my own approach. I grew my business using this new approach, and it's based on simple things. I'm simply maximizing my strengths, focusing on what was working. I mean, it just made sense. And it doubled my business several times over. I now work with clients worldwide to customize and implement the same system, and they consistently grow their businesses 50 to 100% as well. So what does that have to do with this challenge? Well, a big part of uncomplicating my business was to figure out how to stop networking almost entirely. I was exhausted from going to meeting after meeting, only getting to interact with a handful of people in the room, feeling like I was missing out on so many opportunities and spending way too much time for that much frustration. So when I learned how to replace networking with speaking, and primarily unpaid, or what some people referred to as no-fee speaking, that's when things started to change. Instead of being lost in a crowd at dozens of networking events, I was front and center as the speaker at just a handful of events each month. I walked into the room as the recognized expert with instant credibility instead of exhausting myself meeting people one by one by one. By being really strategic about who I spoke for and the structure of the content I delivered, I was able to do something I absolutely love, which is speaking and offering value and making a significant impact, and get the results I wanted. I was growing my list and attracting new clients while making a bigger impact. Now, no matter how hard I networked, I could never have achieved these results while having so much fun doing it. So let's jump into our topic for today. Why are we defining your audience? Here's the thing you need to know about no-fee speaking. There are thousands of groups who need speakers, and they will happily book you to speak for their group. But you need to be very careful about who you say yes to. I mean, it's exciting to have a group say they want you to present for them, but you have to slow down and consider whether or not they are right for you. Because if speaking is a strategy to attract more clients, and if you're not in front of your ideal client, it won't work. You're going to be very frustrated when you don't get leads for new clients, and you may think there's something wrong with you or with your presentation, and you'll start to go down the rabbit hole of reinvention when the problem isn't you or your presentation, it's your audience. Defining your audience provides a foundation that makes a tremendous difference in your results. I mean, recently a brand new business owner hired me and followed the strategies that are in this challenge, and she booked 6 speaking gigs right away. And not only that, but because she was really diligent with this first step, and we designed her talk to attract new clients, she got 2 new clients from her very first speaking engagement. So don't skip today's assignment. It's very important. So before you define the right audience, it'll be helpful for you, especially if you're already doing some speaking but aren't having great results, to know what are the signs that will tell you that you are in front of the wrong audience. So let's go through those quickly. How do you know you're in front of the wrong audience? Well, you're feeling like first of all, you're having to make major interpretations and revisions of your content. You'll feel like you're having to take your material and make a lot of changes to your core message to fit the audience. Now, in front of the right audience, your core message will be received without feeling like you have to interpret it. It will be easy and fun, almost feeling effortless. Number 2, you're getting a small audience. Now, let me explain this. When you create your title, and so that it's strategically formatted to attract your ideal client, and you're going to the wrong groups, you won't get a lot of those people showing up. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about the importance of the right title a little later in the challenge, but just know, if you are in front of the wrong audiences with the right title, you're going to get small audiences, and that may be a clue that they're not the right people. And number 3, people tell you how much they loved your talk, but they don't hire you afterwards. Now, a special note about number 3. If you are in front of the wrong audience, this will definitely happen, but it will also happen in front of the right audience if you don't build your talk to attract clients and have a compelling offer that isn't pushy or salesy. So make sure you're looking at your material so it's built strategically. That's definitely a part of getting people to hire you afterwards, but today we're going to look at the first step, and that's getting you in front of the right audience. So the right audience is where your ideal client shows up in high concentration. That just makes sense. You want to get more results from speaking than from networking, and that means you need more of your ideal clients in the room. So how do we do this? First, we're going to define your ideal client, and we're going to take basic descriptors. Here's some ideas. Think of their industry. Maybe they're in a particular age range or gender, or they're in the midst of a specific life event. Maybe they're corporate people, they're leaders, they're business owners. Maybe they have a particular experience level. You must get clear about this. Ideal client clarity provides a guide to finding great audiences, but it's also the foundation of creating magnetic talk titles and the messaging throughout your brand and your business. So today, you only need to define the basic and come up with descriptors. You'll use them in the exercise tomorrow. So get clear on this, and then knowing this, having these basic descriptors, identify what groups or events attract your ideal clients. So who serves your ideal clients? You're just going to want to identify what types of groups or events serve your ideal clients. Again, think basics. In day 2, you're going to take this information and turn it into a big list of speaking opportunities. So take time to brainstorm this. It really is the foundation. So think of this. Do your people show up at chambers of commerce, professional or industry associations, conferences, retreats, meetups? This will be the foundation for everything you do on day 2 and throughout the rest of the challenge. So taking the time to do this will be the difference between getting booked for groups that are a complete waste of your time and getting booked for audiences who can't wait to hear you and then hire you afterwards. So your assignment today is pretty straightforward. Identify your ideal client. Identify the types of groups and events where your ideal clients gathers. And again, don't skip this. Now, you may be impatient thinking, how does this help? Let's get to the searching and finding and booking, Mary. Now, if you're thinking this, well, first of all, we're a lot alike because I'm ridiculously impatient myself. But I promise you, by taking this step, this is the fastest way to booking gigs that actually build your business. Pinky swear. We're just looking for some basic definitions here. If you take a few minutes to define your ideal client, and the types of groups or events where they gather, the day 2 lesson, it's going to be a breeze, and it can truly launch your speaking. So to recap, today we talked about the value of speaking versus networking, the costs of getting in front of the wrong audience, and your assignment is simply to define your ideal client and the types of groups and events that serve them. If you have questions, ask in the Facebook group, and I'm wishing you a very fun and successful first day of the challenge.